Hey, it's Pat here, and in this video, I'm going to share with you how to make great presentations. And to do that, I'm going to offer 3 different formulas, frameworks, things that you should be thinking about when you're crafting your presentation. Whether that is an online presentation, whether it's a virtual conference, maybe it's just for a YouTube video, maybe it's for a Cannot wait to help you out. Thanks so much for being here. If you're watching live, say hello to your friends here. If you're not watching live, that's okay. This will still be valuable for you. Hashtag team replay in the comments section. Hope you're having a great day. Let's have some fun, and welcome to the income stream.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream. Oh, while we keep it clean, this is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
What's up, y'all? Welcome in. Interesting start time today, but again, if you're watching live and or watching the replay here, it's all good. We're gonna help you out. I've developed some frameworks that'll help you. This actually extends our conversation that we were having yesterday about presentations. And in fact, yesterday, if you didn't check out the last live stream, I'll link to it in the description below later for you if you're not catching this, or if you are catching this live, I'll link to it later. But yesterday, we uncovered how to start a slide presentation, right? Starting is one of the hardest things to do. And it's sometimes very difficult to just get your wheels going, right? Physics is at play here. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. And I just wanted to help you get in motion. So we developed just like a little mini presentation yesterday. I shared with you some different ways that you can offer some stories and inject yourself into that presentation, and even a framework for how to take some ideas that are in your head using Post-it notes or other mechanisms to pull out those ideas and then put them on the slides. And this mechanism works really, really well because each Post-it note represents a different slide, and it just sort of magically creates this presentation. This is a very similar strategy I use to create blog posts, podcast episodes, my online courses, even my books. And I've even used this Post-it note planning process, which sometimes I call the dump and lump strategy. I've used this for planning vacations. I in fact use this to even plan my office here in terms of the spaces and the way I use it. So really, really cool. Thank you for watching. If you're here and you happen to not be subscribed, hit that subscribe button below and the bell notification icon too to make sure we don't miss out on any future content here. Because I have just sort of, sometimes I like to call myself Pat of all trades, master of fun. Not master of none, master of fun. Because I like to share things with you to make things easier, more fun, and also profitable too. So let's talk about these formulas. These formulas for getting better at presentations. I'm actually not going to go into the slides right now. I wanted to offer these formulas, and then I'm going to take you into an already finished presentation, one that's been tweaked over time, and give you examples of how I use these formulas in that presentation. This way, when you come up with your own presentations, you'll be able to see an example and be able to pull and remember these things or come back to this video later. So whether you are into presentations or developing a presentation right now, or you've done one and you want to make it better, or you're just getting ready for the future and some of the presenting that you might do online and offline, this is for you. Cool. So the first one I want to offer you is an acronym, and that's TOPSS, TOPS. And this is sort of your framework for the entire presentation in general. TOPS with an extra S at the end. So what does that stand for? Number 1, we need to present on a topic. That's the T, a topic. This is where we start writing things down. A topic that matters. In fact, I could probably bring up my notepad for you, and we can actually write this out together. All right, so let's do this. I'm gonna have a big font here, and I'll make it Arial black. And does that work? Okay, cool. So topic that matters. Okay, that's number 1. If you're presenting about a topic that doesn't matter to somebody, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle for sure. It's going to be very difficult to already hold people's attention. It's not impossible to speak on something that people may not be interested in. I mean, I've done this all the time because I'm forcing myself to go live every day here on YouTube. I'm sometimes talking about topics that maybe aren't necessarily matterful to you, but it's my job to make them interesting for you, right? But when you can approach something that matters to people, obviously it's just going to be received much, much better, right? So a topic that matters. Next, we need an outcome that people desire. And I also need a font that's big enough for people to see. So an outcome that people desire. So whether or not this is a topic that matters, if you can, in fact, at least in the beginning of the presentation, help people understand that by the end of this, the transformation, the outcome of this presentation for you, the outcome of doing these things or learning these steps, if that's desirable, good times. Good times. So we want that outcome to be very, very prominent. We want it to be obvious, an obvious outcome. Then it would be toops. But that outcome is really key. This is really important when you're presenting anything, especially on a sales page. If you're presenting a product and an idea that you might have that your solution can help solve, well, we need to talk about that outcome, because people actually don't want to buy the course. People don't want to sit at that presentation or watch the presentation. They want the outcome of what the presentation offers. So if you already have presentations, how are you in the beginning talking about the outcome or the desired sort of need or want that people have, right? So a topic that matters, an outcome that people desire. Okay, good. That's the right font. We need proof. Proof now. And proof can come in many different forms. Stats, your credentials, case studies. If these are not included in your presentation, then it's going to be very difficult to convince people, even though it might be a desirable outcome, even though this might be a topic that matters to people. Without proof, it's going to be very difficult because people default to doubt. They doubt you, they doubt themselves, they doubt the process, they doubt the outcome sometimes. Oh, that's not possible, or I can't do that, or I'm not somebody who could do this. Oh, well, what credentials do you have? How are you qualified to talk about this? These are things that need to insert itself into the presentation. And like I said, stick around because I'm going to show you some examples within one of my best presentations, a presentation that has actually helped earn over $1 million online through webinars with the slides that I use and what I say. I'm going to share that with you in a minute, and you'll see where the proof actually plays a role early on in the presentation. Proof both for me as the presenter, and then proof as far as what I'm talking about and why this is important, right? Right. Cool. Let's keep going here. So a topic that matters, outcome, proof, steps. Why is that not steps? So we need the steps to get there. So people are coming into the presentation at one point, and you have this desired outcome. You're showing proof. Okay, fine. You proved to me that you are somebody who's qualified to talk about this, that this is an important topic, that I need to stick around. Okay, great. Now how do I get there? We need to offer the steps or the clear sort of pathway or journey for people to go on. Very clear. And this is the one thing that most people get right in presentations is the steps to get there. Now, obviously, the more simple the steps, the better, the more tangible, the more the less overwhelming, the better, obviously, but the steps are important too. And then finally, here's the last S, stories. Stories sell, man. Stories sell. Right? Stories sell. Chat, everybody doing good? I see that I may be buffering. I'm not quite sure, but just want to make sure you can still hear and see me okay. Michael says, hey, Pat, finally able to join live today, meeting with Aaron Walker later. Tell him I said hello. Love that guy. He recently mentioned you had him on SPI as a guest talking about mastermind groups. Indeed, indeed. And Aaron is a wonderful human being. I miss him. I see him at events all the time, and I haven't been to an event in a while. Awesome. So let's keep it up. So this is the first framework. This is the overall framework of things that need to happen within a presentation. Stories sell. Stories are key. Stories are relatable. Stories provide context. Stories are memorable. And even if you're teaching something, even if the steps are, very A to Z, very just kind of, cookie cutter and not really that exciting, you can make them exciting by putting stories behind it too. So let's tell more stories. So this is the first framework. Topics that matter, an outcome that people desire, proof, using stats, your credentials, case studies, etc. Steps, so that it's easy to follow, and then stories. So that's tops with 2 S's. All right. Next, framework. Next framework. All right, next framework. We need to talk about some components within the presentation that will keep people around. Unfortunately, we as humans, our attention spans are quite short. Not any of you here who are watching live, because you often stick with me an hour every single day, which is really cool. And again, if you haven't caught my live streams, come in the morning, patflynn.com/theincomestream, here to help you. And we have a lot of fun here together as a crew, as a quarantine, as we call it. This is day 218 in a row, which is pretty amazing. But whether you're watching live or watching the replay, here to serve you, we need to keep people watching and engaged. So let's talk about that, right? So this is I need to use the same font. This is the OREO framework. Who likes Oreos? I'm a big fan of Oreos. What's up, Michael, Grandma Goody, Ryan, GTO, Martin, K-Walk, Samson? Thanks for keeping the house running smooth. This is the OREO framework. The OREO framework. All right, so we all know Oreos. They're great. But so is this framework that I created. And by the way, do you see what I'm doing here? I'm also doing something that you can do in your presentations too. Creating frameworks. Frameworks are great because they become easy steps, memorable. You're going to remember tops with 2 S's. You're going to remember the OREO framework. And even if you don't remember specifically what OREO stands for, you'll at least remember the OREO framework and can come back to it or remember parts of it or at least start to think about it. It's when you just offer information with no framework that it just becomes a jumbled mess. So we're doing a little bit of organization here in a little meta sort of fashion by me, in fact, presenting to you these things in the same way that I'm teaching you to do it yourself. Cool. So Oreos, awesome. Online teacher dude, what's up? Ariel, Charles, Bernard, Xenia Vlada, great to see you here. Okay, so let's keep going here. The OREO framework. O. What does O stand for? Objections. We need to uncover the objections. Yes, within your presentation, you need to call out, you need to put on front stage the objections that people who are listening to this presentation likely had coming in or have as you are talking about something, as you're revealing something. When you can call out these objections and then create a story around them, you're more likely to convert people into the message that you're offering, into the solution that you're presenting, into grasping this message and this vision and mission of yours, right? So objections. So for example, if somebody's trying to start a podcast, there's very clear objections. An objection might be, well, I don't have a big audience. How could I compete with these other podcasts that are out there? Podcasting is not going to work for me because I have a small audience or I don't have an audience at all. Some people in the podcasting world say, well, in order to succeed, I have to podcast in a big niche, right? I want it to be worth my time, so I have to go big. When in fact, the opposite is in fact true. The riches are in the niches, as I often say, right? OREO speed income, says Phone Savers. Cool. So objections. You need to understand these objections, and you need to call those objections out. Bring them to the surface. And then what do? The R. We offer rebuttals for each of them. A rebuttal is a counter to it. So, hey, you need to understand that you don't need a large audience in order to succeed as a podcast. Here is an example of that. So that's what comes next. All caps, Pat. An example. So when you can show an example that counters the objection, it wipes that objection away. This is the easiest way to keep people on who are often like, oh, I don't know if this is for me anymore. Or they're saying things like, well, I don't know if this is possible for me to do. Or, oh, this is for other people, but not people like me. When you can call out these objections specifically, offer a rebuttal, a case for that, and show an example of why they are wrong, well, then they can't say anything, right? So offering examples to go along with these works really, really well. And you'll see an example of this when I walk you through my slide presentation for my most popular presentation that, like I said earlier, has helped earn over $1 million online on webinars. And then finally, the outcome. With these examples, not just showing, oh yeah, well, you're wrong, other people have done it too. We want to show the outcome, the future. What is it like when people actually get out of their own head and into actually taking action here? So the outcome. So we have objections, rebuttal, examples, outcome. So examples countering the objections, exactly, common sense philosophy. Where's the chocolate t-shirt coming, I'd say. So the OREO framework, we need to make sure that we have that within our presentation, right? We talked about overall, the TOPS framework with 2 S's. We need a topic that matters, outcomes that people desire, proof that this thing works and that you're worthy to listen to, steps, and then stories. And then the OREO framework, again, this is within your presentation. Call out the objections, offer rebuttals, counter them with examples, and then, again, the outcome. The outcome has come up twice now. This is really important, the transformation. And with these examples that you use, you want to show the transformation. What has happened since people who had the same rebuttal came in, did the thing that you're talking about? What is life like now on the other end? This becomes another way to connect the desire or the topic that matters, right? I love this amazing framework. Never heard of this before. Probably because I made it up. This is the other thing that we need to understand about these presentations. You command the stage. When you have that space on your podcast, on your blog, on your stage, virtual or in person, you can create whatever you want. This is something that clicked for me a couple years into building an online business and creating a lot of content. The idea that I actually have authority to create whatever frameworks and suggestions that I want. I always felt like I had to do something that was kind of like what other people have already done or something that was proven. And I was like, well, why can't I prove certain things? Why can't I take my own experiences and create something like a framework? The cool thing about frameworks like this is they become very memorable. They are easy to follow and they can have ownership, right? You own that framework. So I'm just going to call it, I own the OREO framework. Right? I'm going to own the OREO framework. Is the outcome in OREO the same that outcome in TOPS? Yes. The outcome is the same example or the same sort of kind of outcome, the same overall transformation GTO, right? Om nom, says Sarah. Om nom 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 nom. Cool. All right, so we have one more framework. This is related to keeping people around as well. The objections one is really key, though, because especially if you're selling something, if you don't nail these objections and call them out and counter them, guess what? You're not selling anything, right? Because people are going to continue to make up their own objections, their own story. They're going to look for confirmation bias, right? They're going to confirm that, oh, I'm not able to do this unless you tell them, no, you're wrong. You can be nice about it. You don't need to say it like that. But anyway, let's keep going here. So this acronym will reveal itself in the end. The first letter is E, which, again, font, E, engagement. These are important things to have during the presentation. Little and big ideas to keep in mind while presenting. And number 1 is E for engagement. Right? No, you're wrong, evil Pat. You're wrong. Just kidding. Okay, so engagement. Sorry, that was evil. A little bit evil. How about E's for evil? Just kidding. Did you know evil is live backwards? What? I literally learned that like 2 weeks ago. I was that years old when I learned that. Sorry, kind of dumb. Okay, engagement. During a presentation, we want to engage with the audience. And online, it's obviously a little easier to do this, but you can still do this on a live stage. Engagement during my presentations has been key for me to have people stay interested, sticking around, especially if they can't leave, right? when they, and especially if they can leave. Like online, anybody can click an exit button. On a stage, no, it would be kind of rude unless you really have to leave to get up in the middle of the presentation, fit your way through everybody's legs there, and then kind of go out the auditorium door. But either way, engagement is going to be really key. And you can engage. Getting people involved is really what this is about, getting people involved. You know, it's interesting because this is similar to when I was a waiter. I was a waiter at Macaroni Grill. Anybody a waiter, waitress, bus boy, bus girl at a restaurant before? Bartender. I was a bartender as well. Super fun job. Had it kind of right after college for a little bit to earn some extra dollars and had a good time. But I think it kind of ruined me for life when I now go get service from others, because now I know the sort of language and sort of what works and what doesn't. And I'm pretty judgy when it comes to service because I was in that space myself and I didn't do everything right, but I also know what works and what doesn't. And so the same thing works on stage now. And I'm just absolutely flabbergasted when I see presenters miss the opportunity to engage with their audience and they're just kind of talking the whole time. We need to make sure that we spend even just a little bit of time in the middle of our presentations engaging with our audience, getting them to, if you're on stage, raise their hand or lower their hand, or to either talk to somebody next to them or to perhaps guess what's coming next. There's some quick and easy ways to have people engaged, right? So we're not talking specifically about speaking on stage. Online can work too. And online, it's a little easier to engage because you have the chat, just like how we're chatting right now. And I can ask you simple questions like, hey, let me know if you just heard the secret word. Give me a shout out in the chat if you did. Very simple to do, and now we're engaging. Now I'm asking you something. People who didn't even know that was a thing are now going to wonder and be curious and be more attentive and whatnot. So engaging with your audience is going to be really key. This, again, holds people in their seats longer. This is something that allows them to participate, and it will help you stand out from all the other people that are just kind of a talking head the whole time, not really paying attention to you, making you feel like you belong and are a part of it with you, and it'll be very easy to stand out in that way, right? Cool. So that's E. And let me know if you can guess what the acronym is. Here's another form of engagement. Hey, here's what's coming, right? So this is the second letter. What is the actual acronym that we're going for here? P. EP. Personality. We need to bring your personality out a little bit. When you're presenting, your personality is really important. And I think that your true, genuine personality is key. You don't have to be the most excited person. You don't have to be somebody who's outspoken. You don't have to be an extrovert. You just have to be you. Thank you for the thumbs downs. They still help with the algorithm. And I hope that you have a great presentation the next time you're on stage. Karma is real. So anyway, Stephanie the Roamer and Stephanie says, epic. We'll see. But your personality is key. As you can tell here, I'm just myself here, and you should be yourself. Wow, look at that. The 2 thumbs downs went away. Because guess what? Karma is real. So that's going to come back to you in a positive manner. Hit that thumbs up for a lifetime of great presentations right now. And for those of you who are thumbs down, I just wish you the best. Episode, good guess. We'll see. But you see what I'm doing here? I'm engaging with you. We're playing a fun little game. But like I said, personality is absolutely important. Personality is important. Being your true self and not being afraid to do that. If you are more of a dry kind of person, then use that to your advantage. Maybe because you speak a little bit slower, things are a little bit more clear and you have this specific style. I think it's when we try to be like somebody else that things don't work out and things almost seem forced, and it just becomes an absolute struggle when creating. This happened to me when I was writing my book, Will It Fly? I was reading so many Malcolm Gladwell books that eventually when I started writing, I was like, ooh, I have to write like Malcolm Gladwell. And when I tried to write like Malcolm Gladwell because I really enjoyed his writing, I felt like I had to do it. It was a struggle because he goes so deep into studies and being able to piece things together that other people can't see. And that's not how I write. That's not how I think in terms of writing. I think about those kinds of things all the time. But in this book, I eventually found out that the more I owned the fact that this was coming from me and my own stories and my own sort of education, then it just started to flow much better after that, right? All right. Next. Z. No, just kidding. I. Incentive. We need incentive for people to keep watching. Incentive. When we create incentives, and by incentives, I mean things like open loops or reminders about the topics that are coming or the specific strategies that will be revealed, the more that you can do this, the better. You can do this in an engaging way, like we just said, hey, this is coming, or this something is going to be revealed. You're going to see what this acronym is. Or incentive as far as like in the beginning of presentation saying, hey, and make sure to stick around to the end because I'm going to reveal a ninja trick that has worked for me more than anything. And that's what I did yesterday, right? The thing that can, when we talked about getting podcast reviews in that little mini presentation that we put together in a slideshow, there's many different ways to do it. And I saved the best one for last because that offered incentive for people to stick around. You often want to sandwich, if you have steps or examples, you want to sandwich your best ones. So you have like your second best example to start. You have your medium, they work, but they're not as great in the middle. And then you save your best one for last. And this is something that I do all the time because it keeps people around. So do that in your presentations too. All right. So incentive, and I'll show you, in some presentations, it's like a free gift if you stick around. You'll see this in YouTube videos quite a bit. You'll see this in webinars. Hey, stick around to the end because I'll give you access to the free tools that we're mentioning here or talking about today. I'll give you that link at the end, etc. Those things work really well. All right. Keeping you on edge. C. Whoa, what the heck? C. Confidence. So Stephanie, you got it right. Nice job. Epic Oreo tops. Epic top, epic Oreos. We need confidence. We need confidence, y'all. Now, confidence doesn't mean you have to get everything right. Confidence doesn't mean that you know every single word that you're going to say. In fact, you shouldn't know every single word that you're going to say. You should have confidence and trust in the process and what you know so that you can relay this information to your audience. Samson says, my biggest issue is when I get fired up, my speaking pace speeds up. Working on it, killing me. And that's very common. You'll see people like Gary Vaynerchuk do the same thing. When he gets excited about a topic, he goes crazy and he starts going here and here and here. He'll just be like, yo, let me tell you about Pokemon cards. Sorry, like D-Rock, get this in. Dude, I was with this guy the other day, and he had, oh, man, when I was doing my wine, like, he just goes insane, right? But you could tell the passion's coming through, so it's not all bad. But, of course, if you can better framework what it is that you're talking about and stick to the story before delivering the next one, then it can obviously work a little bit better, too. Kevin, what's up, Kevin? Good to see you here. Will you go back and add these notes to the description of the video? Yes, I will do that, K-Walk, for sure. So let me take you into, and I don't like Oreos, they get stuck in my teeth. That's why you swallow them whole. What are you talking about? I don't know any other way to, that would be weird, actually. Don't do that, don't do that. Why am I knocking on wood? Okay, so let me take you into a presentation to share with you different examples of how I use some of these frameworks. And again, this is a presentation about podcasting. This is one that eventually leads to the selling of my Power Up Podcasting course, and it's one that I've refined over time. So let's talk about some of these things. I'm going to go into Keynote right now. Hey, Mohammed, great to see you here. And I'm going to go into 9 strategies. Here is the presentation here. So let me just walk you through and let me blow this up a little bit. There we go. I'm not going to go into the full screen, but I do want to pop up down below for you so that you could still see and hear me okay. All right. So one thing that's really important is to help people understand that there is an outcome that people desire, right? And to prove, we need to show proof that this is something worth paying attention to. I'm also using the beginning of this presentation to engage with this audience as well, right? So I'm doing multiple of these things all at once right at the beginning. So I do things to engage with my audience right away because I want them to know this is interactive. So number one, I ask you, you can participate too, just so you can get a feel. So let me know in the chat if you listen to podcasts, yes or no. So this is engagement right away. You don't have to have this happen right away, but I also know that most people are listening to podcasts, especially people who sign up to this webinar. And again, as a result of that, I can kind of take the presentation to where I know exactly it should go, right? So do you listen to podcasts, yes or no? And then now I share proof. I share data to help prove that this is something worth doing, right? So 53% of the population is listening to podcasts. So we can see in the chat, it's like, hey, check out the chat. Cool, awesome. Yeah, most people here are listening to podcasts. Well, guess what? So is the rest of the world. 53% of the population is currently listening to podcasts. 2 years ago, this number was about 15 to 20%. It is growing at a rapid rate. So this is a perfect time to start getting into podcasting right now. Now, let me ask you a follow-up question. How many podcasts are you subscribed to? And I also use, as far as a webinar is concerned, I use a tool called Demio. If you want to check that out, smartpassiveincome.com/Demio, DEMIO. I can run polls and do other fun things like that. The engagement within that platform is really cool. You can do, I think, polls in Zoom as well. But I'll ask this in a poll, and it will show that, you know, what I'm about to share. Again, I'm showing proof. I'm engaging a little bit as well. Right at the start, how many podcasts are you subscribed to? Well, most people, or actually on average, people are subscribed to 7 different podcasts. Cool. And then here's the biggest case or proof for podcasting. When listening to podcasts, how long are you listening for? And then I show this slide here. I actually have it sort of activate. So I show blog content, YouTube channel, social media, and podcasts one by one. And this really helps people understand that, wow, podcasting is unlike any other platform out there. You can get in front of people for much, much longer. And it just takes the cake when in terms of just airtime and how much time you have with your audience. Excuse me. So again, this is proof. This is a case for the desire to podcast. This is proving that podcasting is worth paying attention to. So I've done that up front. This is a topic that matters, which has helped to get people that signed up, right? The topic is launch and market a podcast that can help you grow and increase your income and influence online. So the registration process just determines and shares the topic, and then this is the outcome that people desire. Now I'm showing proof. Okay, this is why this is important. I have to resell this topic to people who I know are interested in this, but I want to dig a little bit further. This all happens within the first 3 minutes, these slides here, right? Okay, a little bit of engagement as well. This is what I do. I'm just going to go full screen so you can see this. I say things like, all right, Chad, I'm going to share with you 5 different numbers, and I want you to tell me which number best represents you. And I want to know why you're here. I want to get to know you a little bit. So number 1, you heard about this thing called podcasting, and you're here to learn more about the opportunity. Number 2, I know about podcasting, and I know I need to do it, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Number 3, I've started podcasting, but I'm not getting the results I want. Number 4, I'm a podcasting pro, but could always use a few more tips. Or number 5, it's cold outside, right? It's cold outside. So anyway, a little bit of personality in there. Remember, injecting that personality is really important too. I say it's, cold outside, and it's sort of a joke, and that's okay to include. But here, I'm asking people to put the number 1, 2, 3, or 4 that best represents them. I capture the entire audience. They're actually commenting, they're chatting. This is how, in my 1.5 hour presentations, I have 4,000 to 5,000 messages in the chat. Even with less than 100, or even with less than 1,000 people watching, I can get 4,000 to 5,000 people messaging. That's high engagement, which keeps people on longer. I see it in the analytics. So I love using this in the beginning because, number 1, it helps me understand that people are in the right room. Number 2, it helps them understand that they're with other people like them too. Now, to cast a wide net here, I often say, now whether you're a beginner or you've been doing this for a while, Doesn't matter what number you are, you're going to walk away with some knowledge that's going to help you grow and start and grow your podcast and be ahead of the curve, right? Cool. So then I show a little bit of proof about myself. I tell a little bit of story. So this is where I get into a little bit about who I am and the fact that I have podcasts myself. I speak a little bit. This is providing authority. Me and Gary Vaynerchuk have chatted together on a podcast. Podcasting has helped me make more money, et cetera, et cetera. So this is sort of like, again, the sort of proof that I am worth somebody listening to, right? Now, here's where we get into, remember those objections? The objections, rebuttals, examples, outcome, the OREO. This is, again, in the beginning of the presentation. I'm at this point probably 5 to 8 minutes in at this point. Again, really quick covering these things because I want people to know that this is worth sticking around, and I want to crush those objections that they have, right? So here's what I do. I crush those myths. So myth number 1 is you have to be a natural-born storyteller or interviewer in order to succeed as a podcast. And then this is where, when I tell my story, I actually played a little audio clip that shows like how just disgusting it was when I first started, how bad it was, etc. Then I get into sort of like, the proof that, hey, even though I wasn't good or natural, I learned over time, and then I got better and I got these results, right? The outcome. So objections, rebuttals, examples, outcome. This was using my own story as a rebuttal. Now I'm going to use other people's stories. So let me go full screen here. So, hey, you might think that you need to podcast in a big niche to succeed. And that's, in fact, not true. So that's objection. The objection, I'm calling it out. My rebuttal is no, that's not true. You don't need to podcast in a big niche to succeed. You could be the expert and the go-to person in your niche much faster. You can be somebody's favorite much sooner if you niche down. As I often say, the riches are in the niches, right? So let me tell you a story about my friend Phil Lichtenberger. Phil is a student in one of my courses, Power Up Podcasting, and he started a podcast called Scanner School. His podcast is about scanner radios, like those ham radios and just like for hobbyists, right? And he was a super nerd about scanner radios. So he decided that in this small little space, a niche in a niche in a niche, to create a podcast. And here is what happened. Here's a message that he shared not too long ago. I just had to come here to share. It is a very funny feeling to realize that you've created super fans. I have listeners who follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and now YouTube. They comment on every podcast and are there for almost every Facebook Live session I'm doing. I'm officially over the 6-month period on my podcast with session 24 released this past Tuesday. You can build your tribe. You can build your followers. So do you see what I did there? What else am I doing? I'm showing that my course helped somebody. And here in the beginning, I'm planting seeds that this desired outcome that I have for this webinar, which is to help people and hopefully help them realize that Power Up Podcasting is a good investment for them. I'm already proving that up front. So I'm doing multiple things at the same time. I'm calling out an objection that people likely have, which makes them, number one, go, wow, you kind of get what's going through my head. Okay, I'm paying attention. What do you have to say about that? Number two, I'm offering a rebuttal and I'm showing proof about that. I'm showing an example from one of my own students and an outcome. I'm showing them an outcome and the desired outcome, which is to have fans, to grow an audience, even in a small niche, right? So how are we feeling about this so far, chat? Let me know if this is coming across, because this is really key. Hopefully you can understand that what I'm teaching you here is actually a masterclass on how to sell too. So that by the end of this, and by the end of all these myths or objections, you can call them whatever you want in your presentation, people at the end are going to go, well, okay, I guess this is the thing for me. And now I know that you're the one to teach me. So please teach me. Where do I go next, right? AV says, I think I'm going to have to watch the replay. It's just too noisy out here. Thanks, Karma. Romer says, I love how you're using the live stream to practice. Is this similar or different than the double your downloads webinar? So what you're seeing here is, in this presentation, This is not the Double Your Downloads webinar. This is my my beginner's webinar. The Double Your Downloads webinar unlocks certain strategies that only you can do after you have a podcast up for a few months. Then you can sort of like move on to the next level. So that's not what I'm talking about here. So I have, in fact, a webinar in about an hour, less than an hour, for about 1,700 people who are registered for my Double Your Downloads webinar, which is a webinar to help you increase your downloads for your existing podcast. And that I'm really excited about too. I use a lot of the same strategies there too, but in a different way. Let's do another example, y'all. Podcasting myth number 3. You have to have an audience already. What's up, Kat? Good to see you here. So, okay. You might think that if you're going to start a podcast, that it may be a little bit more difficult for you because you don't have an audience already. Now, of course, having an audience already will help you, but it's not required. Lots of people are using their podcast to build their audiences. Case in point, Sophie Walker. Here's a message from her in our Student Center, which if you are a part of my course, you get access to. She said, guys, I just hit 50,000 downloads. For the new recruits, stick at it. I started my podcast with no website or no business behind me. No website or no business. And now look at her. She has a podcast called Australian Birth Stories that got to #1 in kids and family in Australia. What's her podcast about? She interviews mums, M-U-M, because it's Australia, or else moms, about their pregnancy story. And this helps other moms feel like they're not alone. And now, recently I talked to her, she has over, I think 6 million downloads at this point. Here's her message from the Student Center that I was mentioning. So I didn't share my screen with you. And if you can't make the Double Your Downloads webinar K-Walk, it's all good. We'll send a replay later on for you. But as we can see here, proof, right? From somebody who literally said, I started with no podcast or business behind me. Proof, huge day, etc. This can't work for you? You're wrong. I don't say it in the evil Pat way. I just show it in the evil Pat way, if that makes sense. So she has done so well, in fact, that now in Australia there are some organizations that require their employees to listen to her show. These are health-related organizations, health and medical-related organizations. They use her podcast as ongoing, what do they call it? Ongoing credits and ongoing credential management and stuff. It's pretty cool. And her business and her life has completely changed as a result, which is awesome. All right. I knew that about you. WFPB, we can always use more voices about healthy living. Cool. Love that. All right. And then I go over the steps. Eventually here in the presentation, after a few myths, I'm not going to go over any more. But I started the presentation by uncovering some proof, some stats, some case studies. We talk about the desire that people want, and I put that into the myths. For example, the desire to get on stages, the desire to have a lot of audience and your podcast to potentially generate more money, to build fans, etc. Some myths that uncover, hey, you don't have to be in a big niche or even have an audience at all. The fourth myth is you can't make money until you get a big listenership. I just talked about that. And the fifth myth that sort of transitions into the steps, right, are podcasting is easy. No, it's not, but I'll make it easy for you if possible. So then I go into the steps. Okay, how to sound like a pro, create compelling content, how to do interviews properly, starting with a hook, how to get heard, telling some stories within this as well, going over an example, my ninja hack for podcast growth, then some specific examples of how this particular podcast episode helped me earn over $150,000, etc. More storytelling about a guy in Poland who broke his leg, discovered my podcast, it saved his life, and then I get into the pitch for my online course here and whatnot. We're not going to get into the pitch situation here, but that is the frameworks, and how I use them. So I don't just make this stuff up. I use it. I'm just, thankfully, because of the income stream, I'm forced to consider, okay, well, how can I better present this to you? So how can I create a framework and the steps so that you can potentially create a presentation for online or offline that can work for you too. So there you go. I hope this was really helpful for you. We're going to end a little early today because I have to prepare for a webinar that's coming very soon. I have another presentation to offer. I'm going to use some of these same strategies in there too. And I'm really excited to share some knowledge to help podcasters double their downloads, which is really cool. But anyway, any quick questions that I can offer help with as we are wrapping up? Sometimes in presentations, you don't need to add fluff. If you've given what you need to give, there's no reason to dilute the message, and we're going to end a little bit early today. I'll give you some 10 minutes back, and I'm going to spend that time just going over my notes one more time before I go live with my audience here a little bit later. But can I see the framework again? Absolutely. So here it is. Topic that matters, outcome that people desire, proof, steps, and stories. Consult the Blind Guy. Office hours today, yes, an email went out this morning. If you email help@TeamSPI, we should have put your name on the list because I remember last week you said you didn't get an email. We'll make sure of it. If you just send an email, Consult the Blind Guy, help@teamspi.com, we'll manually make sure that it gets sent to you next time. But 11:30 a.m., so in about 2 hours, 11:30 a.m. Pacific office hours will be there. The same link that was before. I'm not going to mention it here, but yes, the same link is there before. Can't see bottom left. You are absolutely right. Can you give a quick couple examples of confidence? This just means, so confidence is not feeling like you're unprepared, coming into the presentation going, hey guys, man, I'm really nervous about this. I was working really hard on this last night, so be nice. I'm not quite sure how this is going to turn out. Don't ever do that. Please don't ever do that. If you're going to do a presentation, don't ever start out a presentation like that where you are just essentially telling everybody that this is probably going to go wrong or not go as desired. No, you might feel that way, and that's okay. But have some confidence. Just know your topic, practice it enough, or at least know the kinds of things that we could talk about. Do I prepare quite heavily for these things every single day? No. But I'm confident that I know I can help you and I'm going to find my way through it. The fact that we're live offers for a little bit more room for mistakes other than like a presentation where people sign up for it or kind of pay for it. So there's a little bit more anxiety, of course, when that is the case. But either way, just go into it with the desire to help people and have that be the fuel that helps people understand that you have something worthy to pay attention to. So that's number one. Number two, if you forgot something or said something wrong, don't call it out. People don't know what you were supposed to say. And there's been many times where I've said a lot of things wrong or just kind of forgot to say things. And at the end, people are like, wow, that was an amazing presentation. Even though I knew I left 25% of it out. Again, that's not okay. And then other examples is just being very, very strong with your words in certain moments. If you say, all right, guys, this framework that I shared with you here today, it could work for you. If you do a presentation and you use these things, like you could probably get some good results. That's not confidence in what you're saying. Confidence in what you're saying is these 3 frameworks will help make presenting easier for you. It'll help make the creation of these presentations easier, and it'll help your audience stay more in tune with you. So use these frameworks. They will work for you. Do you hear the difference, GTO, between, hey, these things could work, or hey, if you buy my course, this thing is helpful for some people, so I think this would be nice for you to get, versus I know that this course helps people, and I want it to help you too. The confidence in your tone, in your voice, right? Thanks, Pat Flynn, and I think I can apply this to the class I'm teaching, trying to keep college kids engaged online. Not easy, for sure. Don't start with a downer, says Romer, for sure. Cool. Great question, by the way. GTO, thank you for that. Yes, all to help people and get started with their content, and all the others to help give feedback after each presentation would be helpful to get me off my butt, LOL. Yeah, form a mastermind group or join the Slack group and connect with one another. Hey, Tim, good to see you here. Well, I know this was helpful for you, which is great. That's confidence coming out, right? And if you can just pick one or two things from this list and inject them into your presentations, your YouTube videos, your blog posts, your live stage performances, your podcast guest appearances, you're going to get better results. So really excited to see how this turns out. I would love for you in the future, if you've used some of this and it works for you, to come back to me and go, Pat, remember that presentation you did about the Oreos? That worked so well. And that's what I think about before I go live. I think about the outcome. This word that's popped in twice here. It should probably pop in a third time. Epico. Probably not. But this I know will help you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you put this into your stuff and to help other people too. Because that's what it's about. It's about making the internet a better place, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I know you're here too. So chat, thank you so much for today. I appreciate you. I did get the secret word in early today, which is good, but I still owe you a Watch Your Mouth performance tomorrow on the income stream. Make sure to come in tomorrow at, let me give you the time. Tomorrow we will start at 8 a.m. Pacific. 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. And we're going to spin the wheel. We're going to have some fun. We're going to give away some prizes, play some games, and have some more fun too. So, whew. Well done, everybody. Thank you so much for today. I appreciate you. Keep up the good work. And is it here? Here or here? It's here. I didn't see my screen for a sec. Keep up the good work. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thanks for being here. Hit me up with a thumbs up right before you go. That'd be super helpful. And as always, Team Flynn for the win. Cheers, y'all.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream. Oh, while we keep it clean, this is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream. Woo! With Pat Flynn.
Thanks for encouraging me every day. I'm looking forward to day 219 in a row tomorrow. And hey, if you want to bring your friends along, feel free to share this. Hit me up with a thumbs up. I appreciate you. Have an amazing day, and let's hit the weekend with stride. Peace out, y'all. Much love.
Bruh.